Good afternoon and all present over here. So thing is to be that so already we have seen about an strain gauge. So actually the strain gauge, which is an electrical transducer which is used to measure the mechanical surface tension. Okay. So when we are saying about an mechanism, actually the mechanism will be completely different. There are the deposits. So what will happen? The resistance change is due to the change in electron and the hole mobility in a crystal structure when we have a strain over on it. Actually, these devices will be very small with a high sensitivity. Four elements are normally configured as a Wheatstone bridge and it will be integrated with the conditioning electronics. Okay, the resistance changes in a strain gauge element is proportional to the degree of bending, compression, or tension. Okay, so for instance, if the gauge were attached to a metal filter, so what will happen? A load or compressive force is applied to the pillar, then a change in resistance of the strain gauge which is attached to the pillar is then proportional to the force applied. Because the resistance of the strain gauge element, which is temperature sensitive, which is to be referred as a reference or dummy strain gauge element, which is also added over on it. So that's when the bridge circuit is used to measure the changes in the resistance of the strain gauge. The dummy gauge can be placed in the adjacent arm of the bridge to compensate for the temperature changes. Okay. So this second strain gauge is positioned adjacent to the first so that it is at the same temperature. So when you are rotating with a 90-degree, so that it is right angles to the pressure exerting strain gauge element, and therefore they will not sense the deformation as seen by the pressure sensing element. Okay. So when you are saying a over here, so this is about the introduction about the strain gauge. So when you are saying about that, there are two types, one to be the unbonded, another to be the bonded. So types of gauge in which a wire is stretched in an insulating medium in between the 2 points. So the insulating medium can be an air. The wire can be which is made up of alloys such as copper nickel, chrome nickel, nickel ion, which is having a diameter of around 0.003 millimeter. So when you are studying about an gauge factor, so this is to be about 2 to 4 and sustain a force of 2 meter Newton. So they are almost exclusively used in transducers applications where preloaded resistance wires which are connected in a Wheatstone bridge configuration. When you are saying about an bonded strain gauge, so actually along with the constructions of our transducers, a bonded metal wire strain gauge which is used for stress analysis. Okay, so a resistance wire strain gauge which has a diameter of 0.25 millimeter or less over on it. So the grid of fine resistance is segmented into a carrier. So it can be a bakelite or an sheet of terracotta. So this is about an carrier terminals, and we'll have about an bonded wire strain gauge. So what about its characteristics? So in order to prevent the wire from any mechanical damage, so it is covered on top with a thin sheet of material. The spreading of wire, which allows us to have a uniform distribution of stress over the grid. The carrier is bonded with an adhesive material. Due to this, a good transfer of strain from carrier to a grid of wires is achieved over on it. The strain gauge should have a high value of gauge factor. So as high gauge factor, which indicates a large changes in resistance, which leads to high sensitivity. So when you are defining the gauge resistance, it should be high, which is so as to minimize the effect of undesirable variance of resistance in measurement circuits. So the next thing we are in need to about the load cell. So when you are defining a load cell, which is a sensor or transducers, which converts a load or a force which is acting onto an electronic signal. So this electronic signal, which can be a voltage change or a current change or a frequency change, depending on the type of load cell and circuitry what we are using. And we'll have a different kinds of load cell. One to be the resistive load cell, another one to be the capacitive load cells. So when you are saying about an resistive load cell, it will be worked on the principles of piezoresistivity. That is the meaning that when a load or a force or a stress which is applied to the sensor, it changes its resistance. So this changes in resistance leads to a changes in output voltage when an input voltage is applied over on it. Similarly, when you are defining a capacitive load cells, which works on the principles of the changes of capacitance, that is, it has the ability of a system to hold a certain amount of charge when a voltage is applied to it. Similarly, for common parallel plate capacitors, the capacitance will be directly proportional to the amount of overlap of the plates, and dielectric between the plates and inversely proportional to the gap between the plates over on it. Okay, so this is about works on the principles of piezoresistivity, and apart from that, the capacitive load cells, which works on the principles of changes of capacitance, which system can able to hold the cell. The next thing we are in need to see about an working of load cell. A load cell which is made by using an elastic member with a very high repeatable deflection pattern, in order to which a number of strain gauges are attached over on it. So this is about what we'll be having about and preserve. So when the load in this particular cell, what we'll have of about now, actually we'll have a, totally four strain gauges which are bonded to the upper and lower surfaces of the load cell. Okay. So when the load is applied to the body of a resistive load cell, actually as shown above, the elastic member which deflects as shown, and it creates a stress at those locations due to the stress applied. So as a result, so what will happen appadina, two of the strain gauges which will be in compression, whereas the other two gauges are will be in tension. Okay, so during this measurement, so what will happen now, the weight will act on the load cells metal spring element, and which will causes elastic deformation. Similarly, this strain will be converted into an electrical signal by a strain gauge which is installed on the spring element, the simplest type of load cell, which is to be a bending beam with a strain gauge. So actually we'll be using about an Wheatstone bridge circuit in order to convert these changes in resistance, in strain, or resistance into a voltage which is proportional to the load cell. Okay. So when you are saying about an advantages, actually it will be inherently explosion proof, insensitive to temperature variation. So they do not contain fluids. Therefore, there is no possibility of contamination of the process if the diaphragm breaks. Actually, the load cell is very small and it is compact in size, so its accuracy will be good. It has good sensitivity and low hysteresis. It is less expansive. So actually, the strain gauge cells, which are less costly, which is so mostly used in the industry. The load cells of the voltage meter, which can be used for both expansion and compression. When you are saying about a disadvantage, actually it requires continuous electrical energy for the production and display of signals. It cannot be used for the pressure measurement of highly reactive or corrosive materials because they can damage the gauge. It also requires an amplification circuit for the generation of output display because the signals produced by the gauge itself, which is very much low voltage, almost in millivolts, it requires temperature composition networks. Its performance will be affected by non-axial force. Excessive stress or force may damage the load permanently. Okay, and it cannot be used for the measurement of very high pressure if the diaphragm is used of the plastic. So applications, actually we'll be using in medical device, weight checker, and then universal testing machine, and then process weighing machines. Okay, so these are all the advantages and applications of an load cells over on it. Okay, the next thing, actually we have to see about an inclinometer. Okay, apart from that, when you are saying about an so magnetic sensor, so already we know that the magnetic sensor is a transducer which converts the magnetic field into an electrical signal. Okay, and apart from that, the galvanomagnetic effects which occurs when a material carrying an electrical current which is exposed to a magnetic field. Okay, so that, and already we have seen about an Hall effect sensor. So everything that is over on it. Okay, and when you are saying about a current sensor, actually it is a device which detects and converts current to get an output voltage which is directly proportional to the current then designed path. Okay, when a current is passing through the circuit, so what will happen, Abhina? A voltage drop occurs the path where the current is flowing, and also a magnetic field is generated near the current carrying conductor. So these above phenomenon which are used in the current sensor design technique, and we'll have a wide variety of current sensors to monitor alternating or direct the current, and its measurement is required in many applications to be an industrial, automotive, or household fields. Okay, and apart from that, we'll have two different types of current sensing. One to be the direct current sensing, and other one to be the indirect current sensing. Okay, and when you are saying about an disadvantages, actually it may be affected by external magnetic field, will have a large temperature drift, large offset voltage. But when you are saying about an advantage, it can be highly repeatable operations, it can capable of measuring large currents, and applications, actually we'll be using as an open loop current sensors, and in the range selection mode also we'll be using over on it. Okay, and thing we have to see about an compass, gyroscope, and then inclinometers that we can see in the next class. Thank you all.